Believe it or not, politics wasn't so easy to get into back in the day. Aside from shaking thousands of hands and kissing hundreds of babies, you always had to be on your A game. If you didn't come off as the sharpest, wittiest, and yes, even the smartest, there was always somebody else who would.
Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
But nowadays, they'll let just about anybody run for office. You don't even have to be that good looking or have a catchy slogan or even have a good idea. You don't even have to have ever been successful in your life at anything. All you have to do if you want the Hispanic vote is do the Macarena. But if you can't dance like Hillary, or if no one really wants to hear you talk, you just go to plan B. You just whip out your phone and play some Despacito.
I have one thing to say. Hang on here.
All right. There you go. Dance a little bit, Joe. Come on.
So in other words, you just pander. And when the talent runs low, the pandering becomes blatant and very uncomfortable. Example number one, Katie Hobbs, who's running against Republican Kari Lake for governor in Arizona, a state where about 1/3 of the population is Hispanic. And Hobbs may not be a Spanish name, but to her, it's close enough.
What have you learned, specifically learned from the Latino community?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't necessarily think about it that way in those terms, and I learn all the time from people in my life. My sister-in-law, she is Latino, and her family, I love hanging out with them and practicing my Espanol un poquito. And Arizona wouldn't be Arizona without what the Latino community brings.
So we learned two things here. This Democrat who wants to be the governor of Arizona hasn't thought at all about 1/3 of the people living in her state. And two, that was Katie Hobbs thinking on her feet. My brother married a Latina, and a bunch of ums and uhs. Now it gets really awkward because the guy asking the question's Latino, and you can tell he wasn't really happy with that answer.
So there's not one specific lesson you could share with me, other than Espanol with you. It's 1/3 of the state.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think there's many lessons. The emphasis on family values, hard work.
So Latinos are just Catholic, and I see some of them doing a lot of construction. That's her answer. That's like saying you like Italians because their pizza's good, which it is, but still. Who is this Katie Hobbs anyway? Remember when the Democrats thought Kavanaugh's yearbook was controversial because he drank? Well, we got a hold of Katie Hobbs' high school yearbook back in the 80s, and Katie Hobbs organized a slave day at school. As a student leader, Hobbs held slave auctions at her school, put freshmen in chains, and seniors got to play masters for the day. So let me get this straight. Democrats are running a Senate candidate who chased an innocent black guy out of town in Pennsylvania with a shotgun, and a gubernatorial candidate in Arizona who held mock slave auctions. Has anybody even asked Katie Hobbs about this? Well, of course not. She's a Democrat. Democrats can just get behind candidates in blackface, or even get behind presidents who speak at the funerals of Klansmen. What?
And is there a week limit different than 15 weeks you are in favor of? And if so, why?
I don't support the 15-week ban.
If an Arizona voter were to conclude from your previous answer that you do not favor any specific week limit on abortion, would they be correct?
I support leaving the decision between a woman and her doctor and leaving politicians entirely out of it.
So that was Katie Hobbs being asked about abortion. And yes, she believes in partial birth abortion. Wouldn't it be great if Katie Hobbs' opponent, Republican Kari Lake, could debate her and really hash that issue out? Well, unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Of course not. You know, the Spanish-speaking, partial birth abortion supporting slave auctioneer has a very packed schedule.
Are you saying this morning that there is no circumstance that you can envision or would even try to negotiate in which you and Kari Lake would appear at a debate together before the election?
At this point in the race, with 30 days to go, our schedule in terms of forums is pretty much set. And I'm really happy with where we are in the plans we have to continue talking directly to the voters of Arizona.
Yeah, you can't change your schedule because it's set. Who sets your schedule again? Oh, that's right, you do. But if you think the Democratic candidate for governor is bad, wait until you see who the Democrats are getting behind for Senate in Pennsylvania. John Fetterman, who didn't have a real job until his mid-40s, spent his whole life mooching off his folks. Well, when he wasn't chasing unarmed black guys around with a shotgun, he's the Democratic nominee. Fetterman wants to empty out the prisons, ban fracking, and have you pay for government-run heroin injection sites. But Big John's biggest blemish is his wardrobe. It is very hard to even find a photo of Fetterman looking at all professional, and we've tried all day. His own boss actually had to take him shopping.
Yeah, you're going to be presiding over the Senate, and to preside over the Senate, apparently, you have to wear a necktie.
A tie?
Yeah, that's what I hear, and they're really strict about that. So how about if we go out, I'll buy you a necktie.
Okay, Governor. Try something over here. Yeah, how about that?
Then he made him pay for it. Classic Fetterman. But it's one thing just to have bad ideas and not know how to dress. Bernie's made a whole career out of that. It's another thing to see Democrats just putting out a guy who just had a stroke and can't talk.
The Eagles are so much better than the Eagles.
I'm doing fantastic, and it's not about kicking balls in the authority or anything.
Should Joe Biden run again in 2024?
I think that should be a decision made by Joe Biden, and it's not a matter anyone's choice other than his.
Joe Biden, 2024. Guy can't even say the president's name. It's not even really that funny. A new puff piece on Fetterman in New York Magazine admitted they had to interview Fetterman, quote, using Google Meet because the stroke had made it difficult for him to process what he hears. The video chat has closed captioning technology that allowed him to read my questions in real time. You get that? So the Democrats want to put a guy who can't process speech in the Senate. He can't process it. How is he going to be a senator if he can't hear what's happening in the Senate? And he can't speak at hearings. That's literally all these guys do in the Senate is listen and talk. And he can't do either. I guarantee you the Chinese are going to flip him. Guaranteed. And he won't have to debate Dr. Oz either because, you know, schedule's a little tight. And he's demanding all sorts of strange rules to debate him. It's weird. Another Democrat who doesn't want to debate? You got it. Hey, Democrats, got any more brilliant candidates you want to put in charge of the country? Well, the Democrat in North Carolina running for Senate, Cherry Beasley, says she feels bad for the rioters who burned your business down.
We must recognize the legitimate pain and weight of years of disparate treatment that fuels these demonstrations. It is not enough to say to protesters, go home and follow the rules. It's just not that simple.
Yeah, just torch my shop because equity, right? And if you think that's radical, head north to Wisconsin. The Democrat Senate candidate, Mandela Barnes, calls Reverend Jeremiah Wright brilliant, quote unquote. Remember him?
No, no, no. Not God bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible.
Now we are indignant because the stuff we have done overseas is now brought right back into our own front yards. America's chickens are coming home to roost.
What a lovely guy. He married Barack and Michelle, remember? The Democrats keep claiming they don't want to defund the police. How many times have you heard, oh, we don't want to do that? But Mandela Barnes does.
We need to invest more in neighborhood services and programming for our residents, for our communities on the front end. Where will that money come from? Well, it can come from overbloated budgets in police departments, and that reality is possible.
And President Biden's backing this Mandela Barnes guy who wants to defund the police. Why? Because Biden will back Jeffrey Dahmer if it meant that Ron Johnson loses his Senate seat. Biden's been out there specifically targeting Ron Johnson by name. Now, why is that? Well, because if Johnson wins and Republicans have the Senate, Ron Johnson's going to investigate the hell out of the Biden crime family and find out just how much of the Bidens China owns. These candidates are all so bad. You'd think they'd want some help from the White House. No, but they don't. Democrats don't even want to be seen on stage with Joe Biden. Biden's become a laughingstock now.
This week, President Biden pardoned thousands of convicted marijuana users, and it feels like maybe he celebrated with them a little because yesterday, Biden gave a speech at a car factory and opened with this.
Let me start off with 2 words. Made in America.
Wow. Well, let me respond with 2 words. Jesus H. Christ.
So the memo is going out on Joe. Everybody can now take a shot. His approval rating in these key swing states, -15. It's about as toxic as the Wuhan lab. And even the networks now know it.
Biden he just doesn't have the oomph as a candidate anymore. People don't really want him around, and he can't really make his case.
So, who are Democrats asking for help? Well, according to CNN, Democrats running for office have been begging Obama to help him out on the campaign trail. But Barry's saying no. He doesn't want anything to do with any of these candidates. And you know it's bad when even Barack Obama thinks the people Democrats are putting out are too crazy.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.